Welcome to Bicycle Retail Radio, presented by the National Bicycle Dealers Association. Bicycle Retail Radio brings together retailers, vendors, advocates, and thought leaders for honest discussions about the latest issues facing bicycle retailers. The podcast dives deep into the challenges and triumphs of the bicycle industry, providing an in-depth look at the person behind the profession. Aiming to deliver content that's both relatable and thought-provoking, offering real-world tips and insights to help you find success in the bicycle industry. There's a human side of the business, and the podcast aims to share stories, experiences, and strategies that you can apply in your own shop. Whether you're looking for inspiration, practical advice, or a sense of community, you've come to the right place. The National Bicycle Dealer Association has a rich history of supporting retailers across the nation. Founded in 1946 with a mission to strengthen specialty bicycle retailers through education, through research, through communication, and through advocacy. The National Bicycle Dealer Association is proudly supported by our members and our membership. If you'd like to learn more about the benefits of joining, please visit nbda.com.
Attention, bicycle retailers. The NBDA Retailer Summit is coming to Las Vegas, March 25th. Join over 150 of the industry's top retailers at Retailer Summit West, an exclusive one-day event featuring powerful insights, hands-on workshops, and unbeatable networking opportunities. Spend the day with top experts in our industry. Don't miss this chance to elevate your business. Learn more and register at nbda.com.
Phunky, welcome back to the podcast. How are you?
Heather, I'm great. How are you? It's so good to be back. Feels like this is a regular occurrence, and I'm liking it.
Yeah, I'm awesome. I'm digging it. It's really good. It really helps us stay connected to what's going on at Bosch. Yeah, how are things? Are you traveling? Are you out visiting retailers? How are things going?
Things are great. I would say this is 1000% our busy year, our busy time of year. We are out on the road. Last week, I did from Virginia to Indiana through Ohio all the way to Pittsburgh. So we're putting some miles in, and we're reaping a lot of benefits of that, getting in front of a lot of dealers and spreading the good word and empowering and educating them through the current model year 25 Bosch dealer training that we have to offer.
Yeah, there's nothing like those in-person visits, really. Like, it helps the retailer, it helps you, like it helps everyone. It's really good for the industry ecosystem, I feel. What are you're having these conversations. So thoughts on current state of the bike industry? What are you hearing when you're out and about?
It's awesome to get in front of, full on classrooms of 20 folks. I think that for our in-person trainings, when we do what we call dealer training tour, which dealer training tour, just kind of as the quick story is, we basically have like a little bit of a school year, if you will, where we come out with new curriculum that begins usually right about September, October of that given calendar year. And we usually always get the chance to meet all of us that do my role out in the field. We usually get to meet either virtually or ideally out in California at the office and go through that training and make sure that everyone's totally on the same page so that we feel good about it. And then before we kind of hit the road in our given markets, to be able to convey this so that everyone's kind of getting a consistent message, because that's paramount for us. I think that we all have a little bit of a different spin based on experience, or my good buddy Brian Schultz, he covers the Pacific Northwest, right? He sees different styles of bikes, so his teaching might be a little bit different, but we do want to make sure that we're conveying kind of the same message. But the resounding feedback that we are getting, our dealers are really, really excited to be in person. And we always kind of have to try to manage this fine line of, how many folks should we invite out to our in-person trainings in these dealer training tours? Because traditionally the housekeeping of dealer training tour is we isolate and kind of pick out specific markets that ideally will do well and garner a lot of signups from dealers. And we kind of try to play with that number. And right now we're playing with about 20. So we try to keep the class sizes to about 20 folks, which we see a lot of benefit in, because we've all done those bigger style trainings where you get 40, 50. I know I've done some recumbent CycleCon events out in Nashville when it used to be there. And I think one time I did it to 85 people. So you get that, how deep can you go? How many questions can you answer? And we've really found that kind of sweet spot at 20. We definitely don't want to eliminate anyone's opportunity for coming. So, personally in Pittsburgh last week, I had a waiting list, which in our roles, that's actually a really humbling thing to have, where you got too many signups. And so we had to think about 22 folks come out in Pittsburgh on last Thursday, which was awesome. But we like to keep these class sizes. We like to keep the cost of in-person training really, eligible and really appealing to dealers to come out, because their feedback this last week was my first big week out in the Midwest in a couple markets that I hadn't been to in quite some time. And they love in-person training. It's a huge void. And so it really gives us more momentum and more steam in the engine to keep doing what we're doing, because I know it's something we'll probably cover throughout today, but there's obviously such an evolution in how we absorb content in our industry and of course in our own lives. But when you get people together in a classroom, personally, I love seeing when you do your summits with the NVDA and just like the feedback and the write-ups that you have on how, tangible that feeling and that energy is in the room to talk about stuff, get outside the webcam and get in person with folks. So it's been super successful so far, and we've got a lot more to come.
It's really exciting to hear that there's positive feedback and waiting lists, and retailers are excited for this. The in-person, yeah, because they're not only learning from you, Phunky, but they're learning from the other retailers in the room, right? Those questions we don't even think to ask, and then our colleague might ask them. And I want to get all into the trainings that you're offering, both, online and in person. And I just want to applaud Bosch for, back during COVID times, Bosch really stepped up to make sure that you continued your training even when we couldn't get together. And I like to hear that you're really on this annual basis, so it stays very consistent. And you were there during that time, is that right, Phunky? Right? Like,
Correct. Yes. So that's when we first into the right around 2020, we were so heavily on the road as so many people were. And so we started offering these live taught online trainings. So we went through a couple of the different platforms of Microsoft Teams, Zoom, you name it, trying to kind of obey with a lot of the privacy rules and regulations that we have at Bosch, and respecting dealers as well. So it's something that we've been able to continue on up through 2024 and ongoing, are specifically targeting live online trainings to get people in the door. But also, I think I kind of drive this message home really hard, because I see that energy in classrooms and Marriott's and such. Is online is great, even with it being live, and that you can engage with the chat function and things like that. But we still all know, even coming out of COVID, that in person, you are going to take away so much more.
yeah. So all right, we're recording in November, and I know we probably have some listeners who are like, what? In-person training near me? It's already happening. I had no idea, even though I'm sure you've done a great job putting it out there. So we're going to get this podcast aired as soon as possible. So if we have retailers listening right now, can you give us an overview of current training offerings, online and in person, just so if someone's like, I need to go check this out to get registered or see what's available?
Totally. So usually the master link schedule that we send out takes a dealer to our Eventbrite page, and that shows the full list of any available training in their area. And it specifically calls out with some color coordination, whether it is online or whether it is in person. And even with the dealer training tour, we know that we can't hit every single market. We have to have specific ones. We kind of have to make it worth our while to hit these big markets. But a lot of times we've been able to pivot over the years. By hypothetical example, maybe one year Cleveland doesn't work as well, but the Columbus, Cincinnati area is booming with dealers and interest. And so we're able to kind of pivot with that, because we come up with this list, and obviously it takes a lot of logistics to try to plan out hotel conference rooms, travel schedules, catering, all of those things in nature. So usually we're trying to promote it pretty heavily to get dealers on board with that. But our dealer training tour usually begins right around the middle of October, and it will run through the March timeframe. And so that is basically any market throughout the US, all 7 of us on the Bosch technical representative team going out, completing these trainings, getting in front of dealers and inviting them out is usually our main push for that, because as soon as March comes around, ideally everyone starts to get busy. So the idea of maybe hopping in the car, traveling a couple hours down to a big city to join us, isn't as feasible as it was come November and December as we're doing this now, when it might be a little bit slower, especially in my area in the Mid-Atlantic when it gets a little bit colder.
And so these trainings, Phunky, is this the actual Bosch certification then that retailers can get, or is this just an update onto, different aspects of the Bosch systems?
Totally. This is a full Bosch certification as well as our online. So we do want to call that out, that currently we're always looking to evolve the levels and styles of training that we do have to offer, which we do have some good things coming down the pipeline in terms of that. But whether you attend a live taught online training through our Eventbrite page, or whether you come out in person, there is no differentiation of the certificate that you get. We do still issue the same type of certificate for Bosch certification in both forms, because we know that there's some markets that can't get to an in-person, and in a given travel schedule and time frame, we might not be able to get to them and do an in-store training. And so that is really the benefit of the online style, is still getting them on there, getting the similar content. I think when you get the in-person style of things, we really dive into a lot more details, where when you hop online, have gotten a ton of feedback over the last couple of years from dealers that have attended online, really just to get that update, really to get some, current product information flowing, some good technical tips. And then you come to a class taught by myself or one of my awesome colleagues, and you're holding the parts, you're doing some of our troubleshooting steps, you're seeing how the battery connections are made, you're actually getting to see how the batteries are adjusted inside frames. We're talking about more localized issues. Maybe there's a ton of Cannondale dealers in the room, or there's a bunch of Reese and Mueller dealers, and we're really diving into a really specific type of content that we can talk about with certain dealers when we get in the in-person side.
Excellent. And then the training, you said it's annual. It happens, the same time of year. So say a retailer did it last year, it is definitely worth attending again, because you're getting these updates. And is the certification a 1-year certification, or is it a certification that lives on? I guess there's 2 questions in there.
Totally. We aim for 12 months as the time frame that your Bosch certification is in use. Okay. And so you're always trying to get folks out at least once a year to get that fresh training. And that's where we usually see people come out. A lot of friendly faces that I saw last week, I saw them around this time last year in the same different markets. So they're coming out, they're getting their updated Bosch certification from us, so that all of our web-based tools, all of our diagnostic tool software will stay up and running from them with refresh certification. So that is definitely something that we are still pushing, to have the proper certifications met every year so that everything will work for them at the dealer level.
Are you noticing that as e-bikes continue to grow, your training programs are getting more and more, like maybe it used to just be 1 tech from a store, and now maybe you have like 6? I'm just imagining that with the growth of e-bikes, you might have more people looking to get certified.
We do. We see a ton, and we see, with the state of retail too, where there's some really good dealers where, maybe there's higher turnaround, maybe there's more seasonal turnaround. So we need to get, newer faces, the training. So that definitely helps a lot to be able to get the message across, because really the goal of training in my eyes is, it doesn't matter if you're working on bikes or answering phones or talking to customers on the floor. There are bits of the training that will work for everyone. Mm-hmm. And over the years, we have definitely made really good headway in the evolution of the training, getting a little bit more away from just product into more of actually like this is what we're seeing in the field. This is how you can handle it if this does come up. So almost, one of our main slides, which it comes into some of our marketing slogans, is one of the first slides in the training for this year is troubleshoot like a Bosch, which like a Bosch is a great saying that we have globally at Bosch, no matter which division that you are in. But, really breaking down that term for dealers is, yes, there's some marketing in it, but it's us telling them we want you to have all the tools and all the knowledge as same as I do. Having been seeing and working on Bosch equipped bikes for 6 straight years, Monday through Friday and beyond, I want you to know everything that I know. We don't want any information to be withheld from you, so that you have everything that you need when a bike comes in, that you can service it and feel comfortable with it.
I love it. So is the training one day then Phunky, or like is it like an 8 to 6 p.m. type of thing, or?
We've actually kind of concised it a little. We've done some stuff to make it a little bit more concise, where traditionally we bill it for about 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. In any given city, and that is including a lunch hour where we provide lunch for dealers at the certain hotel spaces that we are renting out for the day, which gives a great chance to also network with some dealers and talk to them. So we've actually kind of cut it down. I think last week, out of my coworkers, we were kind of texting. We were like, I feel like I'm the one that talks a little bit longer, adds in all of those details, because I want someone to feel like they're getting everything out of the training. So I feel like mine have always historically gone maybe longer than some others, but it was actually kind of nice last week to be able to, wrap up maybe around 2:30 every day and still have everyone get their questions and feedback in, and actually maybe sneak out for a bike ride or two afterwards.
Absolutely fabulous. And so you're covering Bosch specific product. Are you also covering like some safety guidelines, and then just, you already mentioned general regional things, but is safety, I'm wondering if safety is covered or if it's a concern from the retailers coming in.
Safety and also dealer insurance has
Mm.
definitely been something that I've kind of been poking at in the trainings that I did last week, is to see what types of changes are, to kind of, keep a finger on the pulse of the market in terms of that. Safety definitely seems to be more of a resounding yes. We want to have that covered in the training, and we are still issuing all of our kind of transparent guidelines that we have in terms of what we're doing with batteries, in terms of automation, the companies that we're partnering with in terms of safety for Intertech, and meeting all of those UL certifications. So really, we talked about, I think, maybe a little bit more in the last couple years in terms of like slide content material. Dealers are coming to the table with training now way more educated. So it's not something that I've personally felt that we've had to spend as much time on. It's really a great time where I joke and I can kind of rest my voice from teaching and actually open the mic to them throughout the room to hear certain anecdotes, which usually has brought in a lot of solutions for dealers in specific markets, where you're in there. One dealer says that they just lost coverage for their store because they do have e-bikes. And, another dealer is able to quickly say, here's this company. If you can provide these certificates of the companies you're working with, you'll be covered, and it'll go back to, standard style rates. So that's one of those great things to be able to see, where we do have a lot of networking in the in-person events for dealers in the same area to help each other out.
Yeah, it's so powerful. I love to see retailers helping each other out. So for our listeners, just like a call out on training, if they're listening now, mid-November, there is still time for them to get registered for maybe an online, maybe not an in-person, based on your travels, on the travel schedule that's laid out, but they should definitely look. Is that correct, Stephen?
Absolutely. Yeah, totally. Definitely take a peek. And, some of my colleagues actually extend their training tour schedules out, because you could have big markets. Tomorrow for me, this being middle of November, is Tyson's Corner, Virginia. So just outside of the DC metropolitan area. And we are, I think, one person away from being sold out tomorrow. But I can tell you that still doesn't even meet half the shops that I wanted to target to try to get. So brainstorming, hey, maybe we come back here and do another one in late February, early March, and try to get those folks that maybe couldn't attend in November. So it's definitely something we're always having those conversations with dealers and saying, hey, what if we throw another one on the calendar? You think you can get some folks to come out for that? Because there's, of course, in this area, there's some big, powerful chain stores that we can have a lot of attendance from to make sure that they are all on the same page for this. So definitely a lot of in-person opportunities to come. And one of those things that we always remind dealers as well is online is there as being a live taught offering. In person is available throughout our dealer training tour. And then as we go into, our slower season, almost kind of like school teachers, or we kind of lighten up a little bit in the summer, that's where we really try to push, hey, do you want to schedule a morning or evening and do an in-person training at your shop? And we also have that option for dealers to elect. So there's technically 3 total ways that they can have certification, because I have a lot of specific shops in remote areas. It could be, central Pennsylvania or eastern North Carolina, and they're not going to make that drive to Philly or Raleigh respectively. And so, they're going to elect for an in-person training that we roll the van up to their store. They can have their entire staff there and everyone gets on the same page, and we cover only the content that is pertinent to them. So a lot of dealers actually, wait till the summer and actually carve out that one day to be able to do that, to have a really tailored training experience.
Yeah, so the key here is we need to get the model year 25 training. Let's get everyone certified. So I'll link in the show notes to the current list that's on Eventbrite. And then if people want to schedule that maybe one-on-one or more shop oriented training, they can do that too. Let's get everyone training, right? The more retailers we can get certified, the better, right? Like let's get everyone.
And I think it's so powerful. I think I drove like 1,500 miles total last week. So there's a lot of podcasts and a lot of thinking to be had. And it's a big void in the industry right now. And I think COVID shaped a lot of that, maybe based on finances or logistics or safety concerns. But in-person training in the bicycle industry is a huge void, according to a lot of retailers that are out there, in terms of vendors coming through big cities or coming to them to try to do this. So it's really, really important that we keep it, because even if it's just seen as a day to get out of the shop and have a different workday experience for some folks, that's really powerful to keep them motivated in our world. And I hear that and I see that. So it's something that we take a lot of pride in to do and bring it to them, because we know there's different style trainings out there, but a lot of people can't afford, in this tight budget, scenario that we've got in the industry, to hop on a plane and carve out 5 days and go to a certain place. So that's where we really try to use our resources the best to bring it as close to them as possible, to have the best training on the road, because we've spent a lot of years kind of cultivating this, bringing a lot of things that we have from our automotive division here. And I think it shows, hopefully, I think we try to keep to this all the time, is it shows a level of empathy that we also want to bring to dealers in this, time in the bicycle industry, where it's maybe some falling support, and we want to continue to have that and meet the dealers where they are, because that's something that's really important for us.
Yeah, I want to just give huge kudos to Bosch for what they've done in that regard. I hear the same thing. It's really hard for retailers to even get a day out of the shop, let alone hop on a plane and go somewhere for this training. So the fact that you're bringing it so close and making it so accessible really speaks volumes to how you support retailers. So definitely you have the MBDA's applause for that. If it's okay, I want to ask you about some stuff coming down the pipeline for model year 25, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I heard through the grapevine that there's some new exciting products and partnerships. Any highlights you can share with us?
Yes, totally. I think as of the end of September, we trickled out some more model year 25 products that fall within our smart system product portfolio. One of those was a brand new Performance Line CX drive unit. So really trying to stay ahead of the curve in the e-mountain bike space. And with that, made a really attractive offering to bring on our good friends at Santa Cruz that recently released a brand new bike, which is their first Bosch equipped bike in the market space. And I was able to co-host a live online training with their specific dealers when like a few days after the launch of the bike in early October. And there's just so much excitement behind there, which is really, really cool to be able to see how much excitement that they have, getting a new vendor on board with us and then having a lot of their retailers newly exposed to us at Bosch and what we're doing. So I think that was a complete slam dunk, and it took a ton of our amazing colleagues to be able to put that together. But when you come out with new products that help shape the future of the industry, it becomes attractive to a lot of main players that we're familiar with. And I think that was proof in the pudding in terms of Santa Cruz.
I think that's awesome. And this new CX drive unit, it's really catching attention. So it's lighter, right? It's quieter. Its motor is optimized, new features, functions. Can you just go into it a little bit more? Something about it doesn't overheat either, right? Some new thermal management.
Totally. Thermal management's huge in terms of, how we want the power output to be for riders. We really focus on derating of power because that's something that sometimes gets a little bit overlooked in terms of I call it the test ride experience, but a parking lot experience for a high end electric mountain bike is a little bit tricky to see because you can have some competitors out there where those bikes feel a lot more punchier off the start, but how does that actually translate to your given daily e-mountain bike ride, where maybe you have to climb up a 1,500-foot elevation segment just to get to the trailhead. So you don't want that motor to overheat, which you're going to lose power and efficiency for and have arguably a shorter product's life on it. So thermal management is huge anytime we come out with especially a performance line drive unit, because we are putting out so much power. So we want to manage that properly. And then also one of the big changes too, I think technicians are going to love it too, is just a different way to mount it to the bike. So, really trying to kind of be a little bit more standardized in terms of how we're integrating drive units into frames, which is going to help a lot of our manufacturing partners too. So they can have, a little bit less time and resources into the development of the frames and have a little bit more standardization of which drive unit do they want to pick leading down the future. So a lot of huge benefits in terms of that, as well as coming out with a few new battery combinations for the smart system. It's not, I think we've talked about it, it's not our biggest product launch year, but there's still so many things that we're bringing into the smart system realm that are helping kind of bring everything into the forefront for content that we can teach to dealers.
Yeah, and safety too. I think since we last talked, the ABS Pro, which is the braking control, came into, I don't think we talked about that last time either. That's something new as well, right?
Totally. ABS Pro is brand new for model year 24, brand new product that we're trying to bring into the performance section. So for those high-end e-mountain bikes, or also supporting globally and nationally the e-mountain bike racing that we do with Bosch. It's super powerful because, ABS anti-lock brake system lineage from Bosch goes back to the 70s in terms of the development inside of the automobile space that then led us to the development inside the motorcycle space. And then now we're looking at, e-bikes in terms of micro mobility. And so we've brought a lot of safety features to it. I tell dealers the ABS that's coming into North America currently is actually our second generation of an anti-lock brake system. The first generation only debuted over in the European market, but we've done a lot of wonders to make it a lot smaller, make it a lot more efficient, to have a lot of our customers on the OEM side be able to come out with bikes that do offer a safer experience. I think it's still going to take a few years to see a lot of it come into the North American market, but we are already seeing bikes coming into dealers that already have it. Maybe the customer bought it online, or maybe it's more of a unique vendor that's selling. So they are out there, and we're trying to help educate dealers that don't freak out. It's very seamless to work on if you are working on it. And we also remind them too that there is no ABS aftermarket, if you will. So they're not going to have to be speccing this onto a bike at the dealer level, because there are so many players that come into play when you do put ABS onto a bike.
So much here. I think there was two other things that caught my eye. Hill Start Assist, is that new for this fall, maybe?
Hill Start Assist is new. It's kind of incorporating some of the things that we've had with Walk Assist, but basically using some of the drive unit programming to, you know, we've all been on those super steep ascents where you need a little bit of head start to go. So Hill Start kind of gets into, again, more of the trail side of things for us in terms of our Performance Line CX drive units and beyond. So with that and cargo bikes, we're going to see a lot of success with people and dealers being able to sell Hill Start being introduced into a lot of the new drive units.
It's awesome to see what you're coming down, and in your commitment to mountain bikes, the Purion 400, which is the new display that's really easy to read for my older eyes. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, totally. The display and remote compatibility in the smart system is one of my favorite sections to talk about at dealers and during training as well, because we've made it so modular these days to be able to help spec bikes exactly how people want them. You know, do you want your phone to be the main display of the bike? You know, we have a product for it, the smartphone grip. Do you want the complete absence of any Bosch display? Totally, you can have that. So we're trying to kind of, fit every segment here, because there's so many different styles of customers that are coming in for e-bikes. We know they have different needs. We know they have different preferences. And so we want to make it way more modular than it was in the past for dealers to be able to set riders up for that ultimate Bosch experience.
Yeah. How is that relationship with Bosch or with Santa Cruz? I'm sorry. Are you having a lot of retailers like that were Santa Cruz retailers, now reaching out for training and like just the buzz on the street? Like, what are you hearing? Is it positive? Must be.
It's extremely positive. My colleagues, Brian Cleveland, who is based out of our Southern California office, he's actually one of the first technical representatives for us at Bosch dating back to 2014. He covers the Southern California into New Mexico and Arizona. And then our colleague behind the scenes that totally deserves 100% kudos and shout out here is our colleague Kevin Haynes, who is completely behind the scenes of all of our content creation and facilitation of that to dealers. So Kevin is always behind the scenes, making sure that the live online trainings are going smooth. He's basically the producer, the director, if you will, and then also helping us out on the road, make sure that we have the best content to be able to give to the dealers. And so for that live training with Santa Cruz, I think we had well over 100 people on the call. I think it was definitely one of our biggest records to date in terms of live online training, to be able to have that many folks on the call at once. And that was huge to be able to see, because I think it's different depending on the regions, but from what I was able to kind of harvest from that is that a lot of Santa Cruz dealers may not have ever had much exposure to us at Bosch with any of the brands that they were stocking. So it was a huge success for us, and I believe for Santa Cruz as well. So it's definitely a partnership that we are really, really excited about. We're excited about everything, all the customers that we have to be able to work with at Bosch. I think that's one of the beauties of my role, right? Is that you represent a company, but you get to talk so positively and be such fans of so many amazing bicycle brands globally that integrate the Bosch system. So it's awesome to be able to wear so many cool t-shirts out on the road and be big fans of it. I love that.
Dude, I think you're so cool. Like you, just such a great human. I'm with you on that. And Bosch is such a great brand, and I can see why you love what you do, and you can tell it resonates every conversation I have with you. I don't know, that was just some things that I picked up that I thought were new offerings from Bosch. Is there anything for model year 25, anything that we should keep our eye on, or have we spilled the beans on everything we can at this point?
I think we're kind of fully rounded on that. I think the biggest thing that we also talk about is just so many updates that we're doing on the digital side. So connectivity, creating that connected ecosystem for riders within our Bosch e-bike Flow app is really, really important. And it's something in the digital age that we're kind of accustomed to with our phones, right? You have a new setting on the phone that you get it updated through that.
Yeah.
So similar to the e-bike Flow app, where a rider that bought a smart system equipped bike maybe 6, 8, 12 months ago, there's so many new features inside the app. And so we created the app to have a more connected experience for the rider. Is it necessary to function the bike, which is a common question? No, we know there's folks that don't want to, have any digital features when they're just riding a bike, and we don't want to have to make that a prerequisite for them. But if you are inside the app, so many of the different features that we have, we keep refining and keep adding new little features to. So in terms of theft protection, like we have products like our e-bike lock system, which helps secure a rider's bike digitally out in the field using the e-bike flow app, or even add-ons that we have, like products called the Bosch Connect module, which actually offer a GPS tracking device that is installed to their bike and run through the e-bike flow app. So it's as in layman's terms, it's as complicated as you want to make it, or it can be also as simplistic as you want to make it when you're choosing Bosch.
I love that. What else? Any trends you're noticing in the e-bike market? I mean, Bosch has as a brand must have a wealth of data, and you're out there just talking to retailers. Is there anything that is trending that you might share with our listeners? Is cargo? I always think cargo would start being a category that we're seeing growth in.
Cargo is definitely something that we're seeing a ton of, and that is also where we're seeing, uh, the terminology "a rising tide raises all ships." We're seeing, a lot of competitive players in that cargo space market at different price points. So that is definitely a good, huge talking point for us in our training and our relationships with retailers is, the why Bosch, if you're choosing cargo, in terms of the performance of using a mid-drive system, the connected features of how you can protect that product using some of our aforementioned e-bike lock and alarm features that we have. Because some of these big cities, cargo bikes, one of the biggest aversions that I hear of why they don't sell is, where are you going to store them? If you're in downtown Baltimore, or here's an even better one, downtown Philadelphia, a lot of people don't have the room to store it that we usually have. So we actually I see so much more growth of cargo in areas that maybe marketers might not recognize right off the bat. I think right when we see cargo bike ads, we see that just very textbook city feel where you're getting around, you're getting past crowded buses and trains and all, you're beating the cars to the coffee shop or the grocery store. But a lot of times we see it in kind of mid-sized cities. I always call out the triangle down in Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill area, because there's so many progressively minded folks in that area, with a lot of the big universities and companies that understand the benefits of an electric cargo bike. And so we see actually soaring success with cargo in that market. And I think that's something a message I always relay to my colleagues on the inside too, is it's happening in markets where we might not have our full eye to, because they have the space and they have a ton of infrastructure to be able to get around.
Yeah, that makes sense. It makes sense. I guess dealer feedback. You're out there, meeting with retailers, leading education face to face. I'm sure you're getting some dealer feedback on what's working. Just, I don't know, product specs, training that they need that they're not getting, warranty, what have you. How does that shape the way Bosch moves forward? Like, what do you do with that feedback? And is dealer feedback, worthwhile for you?
Dealer feedback is really, really big for us. And, I always try to invite that and create that open and safe space inside of a training or inside of any type of dealer meeting that, if you've got, poignant feedback, I want to hear it. Whether it's good or bad, we will use it. It will be relayed. It will get to the folks that can make those changes if they are higher, than my ball cap goes. We want to hear it because it's huge for us. It's helped steer what we've done in terms of training moving forward, where, we are, in terms of training, we are incorporating more of a learning management style software into our e-bike partner portal, which is, kind of simply said, our dealer portal for Bosch e-bike systems. We are integrating more and more modules for dealers to have. And that, really came from dealer feedback over the years, where we have such a big spread of content to be able to communicate. If you go to actually one of our Bosch trainings over in the European market, those traditionally do last upwards of 8 or 9 hours. And so it's a little bit harder to get that attention span fully, totally for our human brains here in the States, which is totally understandable, but also being able to give that right content where, tomorrow in a classroom of 20, I could have someone that is new to the bicycle industry, doesn't even really know much about Bosch, but next to that person, I could have someone that's been to the last 6 years of training.
Mm-hmm.
So trying to make everyone feel included, make the veteran feel like that they're getting newer content to stay sharp in their expertise, but also inviting in someone that's brand new to us. So that's where some of our learning management that our colleague Kevin Haynes has started developing and integrating into our e-bike partner portal is going to help steer some of our future training goals, is to be able to have, maybe, lack of a better term, some prerequisites for folks that want to attend maybe dealer training tour. Hey, let's steer you to this content to kind of bring you up to speed, so you're coming into the room with, fresh eyes and not, extremely green to us, if you will, at Bosch. And then as well, in terms of that product development, 1,000% comes from dealer feedback. We take all of it, we put it into systems, it goes to the right folks so we can try to get the right products coming to the States. And then as well, any type of service bulletin, any type of warranty feedback, that one of course is also crucial, because we aim to make very reliable and safe components, but of course there can be issues with anything in this world. And so we know having the right service channel for that is really, really big. So making certain changes of where someone can get spare parts as a dealer, we've made those changes over the years. Who can they call? Are they open? Can you get a human on the phone to actually ask those questions? And then how fast can we get those parts on a turnaround style for them? So dealer feedback is integral to what we do on a day-to-day basis.
I love to hear that. I love to hear that. I love dealer feedback too. It helps us improve what we're doing here at the NBDA. So, Phunky, it's always a pleasure. I love catching up with you. I love sharing what Bosch is doing. My call out for anyone listening, if you're not signed up for a Bosch training course, please do. I'll link in the show notes to the Eventbrite page. And then, some great tech and model year 25 innovations, some things that dropped this fall. So make sure you're up to speed with what was new this fall and coming down the pipeline. Phunky, would you share a contact or best way if people have questions about the training, they want to ask someone how to get signed up? What's the best way to do that? I'll share the link. Is there another resource you would suggest?
Yeah, I will totally provide our technical hotline that is open for retailers is one of the best ways to get that up and coming content, just to get someone on the phone to answer those questions. I'm happy to share my contact information too, just with the caveat that we all are traveling a ton right now. So some things get a little bit backed up in terms of that. And then definitely we'll pass through all of those links in terms of the calendar that we are always updating. And because they have the service hotline as well, if they don't see a market that is on the calendar, let us know, because again, it's one of those things that we can totally add as we head into calendar year 25, which sounds crazy to say, that we're going to continue to offer tons of different training opportunities. And our online one is there. Definitely sign up for that. Gets a lot of the content, but supplement it. Come out to see us in person. I guarantee it's going to be worth your while. I will personally hand you the $40 back if you don't learn something at in-person training. I promise. You can put that on the airwaves. That's on the record.
That is a steal. Yeah, listeners, it's Stephen.Proffitt. You'll see how to spell his name in the show notes there, at us.bosch.com. So that's his direct email. No, he might be out traveling and training, so don't hold him to get back to you right away. But I'm certain, because I've experienced, he'll get back pretty quickly. Phunky, always great to chat. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast again.
Thank you so much, Heather. And definitely for any retailers out there, the support for our training is amazing. Thank you for everyone that does come out to it. Please get in touch. I will, if they're, out of my market, I will get them connected with the local representative in their area, and we're off to the races from there. So only ways is up.
Excellent. All right. We'll do this again soon. Be good out there.
You too. See ya. Talk soon.
Thank you for tuning into Bicycle Retail Radio, presented by the National Bicycle Dealers Association. We hope you enjoyed today's episode, and if you did, please like, subscribe, or leave us a review. Sharing this podcast with your friends helps us reach more listeners and continue to bring you the best content. Remember, we host 2 shows per week with ever-changing guests and fresh content to keep you both informed and inspired. The National Bicycle Dealer Association is committed to providing valuable events, webinars, and opportunities for industry education and connection. Stay up to date by visiting nbda.com to see our event calendar. Special thanks to Francis Abbott for the promotional graphics for today's episode. If you're interested in advertising on Bicycle Retail Radio or have a guest suggestion, visit nbda.com to learn more. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time on Bicycle Retail Radio.